Alarms tore through the shuttle before I even opened my eyes. Red light flooded the small cabin, pulsing like a heartbeat that refused to slow down. I gripped the edge of my seat as the whole frame shook, metal groaning somewhere behind me, and I knew, in that instant, that I was not going to survive the next hour unless something changed. My name is Visara. I was born into a family that ruled a small, distant world, a family that no longer exists anywhere except in my memory. 6 days earlier, our fleet had been destroyed. My mother's ships burned in the dark, one by one, until the only thing left of my entire life was this cramped escape shuttle, a dying set of engines, and a silence on the radio where my father's voice used to be. The scrubbers that gave me air were failing. I could feel it in my chest, a tightness that grew worse every hour, like the ship itself was slowly forgetting how to keep me alive. I had run every calculation I knew. I had rerouted power, sealed off 2 damaged sections, and rationed the last of my oxygen packs. None of it mattered anymore. The numbers all led to the same place. I was going to run out of air before I ran out of space to drift in. Then, through the static, a signal broke in. A voice, calm and unfamiliar, said a name I did not recognize, followed by words I barely understood. The language was rough against my ears, full of soft sounds my translator struggled to catch. But the tone was unmistakable. Someone was trying to reach me. I grabbed the comm with both hands, my fingers shaking, and forced my own translator to respond. Static crackled, then cleared, just enough for a single sentence to come through from the other side. "We see you. Hold on. We are coming." I did not know who they were. I did not know if they were friend or enemy, traitor or soldier, someone who would help me, or someone who would simply take whatever was left of value in my broken shuttle and leave the rest of me behind. But I had no other choice. My engines were dead. My air was almost gone. I pressed the comm again and gave them my exact position, my hands trembling as I read out the numbers. Long minutes passed. My vision blurred at the edges. My chest burned with every breath, shallow and useless, like trying to drink water through a closing throat. I remember thinking, quite calmly, that this was how it would end, not in a battle, not in fire, but alone, in silence, forgotten by everyone except the stars. Then a light swept across my shuttle window, bright and steady, and a much larger shape slid into view outside the glass. A cargo door opened along its side, wide and glowing gold from the inside. My shuttle shuddered as something locked onto its hull and began pulling me forward, slow and careful, toward that open door. I do not remember much of what happened after that. I remember cold air rushing in as the hatch opened. I remember hands, warm and human, lifting me before my legs gave out beneath me. I remember a woman's voice, sharp with urgency, calling for someone to bring blankets, calling for someone else to check the readings on some machine I could not see. And then, for a while, there was nothing at all. When I woke again, the shaking had stopped. The alarms were gone. In their place was a low, steady hum, the sound of a working ship moving quietly through open space, and a soft light above me that did not flicker with warning color. A man sat nearby, watching a screen, occasionally glancing toward me. When he noticed my eyes were open, he leaned forward slightly. "You are safe now," he said. His name, I would later learn, was Marcus. "You gave us quite a scare. Do you understand me?" I understood him, though barely, my translator filling in gaps as fast as it could. I nodded, though even that small motion made my head spin. "Good," he said, and something in his shoulders relaxed, as if a weight had lifted off him. "You are aboard the Marigold's Promise. We picked up your distress signal 6 hours ago. You are lucky. Another hour and we would not have made it in time." I tried to speak, and my voice came out cracked and thin. "Who are you people?" "Just a family," he said simply, as if that explained everything. "Traitors. Nothing important. But you are safe here, whoever you are." I told him my name, though I did not tell him, not yet, what it meant back home, what title had once come attached to it, what throne no longer existed for me to return to. There would be time for that conversation later, and it would not go the way I expected. Over the following days, my strength slowly returned, though my situation did not improve much beyond simply being alive. 3 different governing bodies argued over radio channels about what should be done with a displaced foreign passenger who had no world left to send her back to. I listened to pieces of those conversations from the small medical bay where I rested, and each one made my chest tighten in a different way than the failing air scrubbers ever had. It was during this uncertain, frightening stretch of time that I met the rest of the family aboard that ship. There was Sarah, Marcus's partner, who ran the ship's kitchen with a kind of quiet authority that no royal court I had ever known could match. There was Teo, their son, 11 years old, endlessly curious, who treated me less like a stranger from another world and more like an interesting new puzzle to figure out. And there was Amara, 13, sharp-eyed and unafraid to ask questions no one else dared to ask me directly. It was Amara who noticed something odd about the way I spoke of my past. "You never mentioned celebrating anything," she said one evening, sitting across from me at the narrow table in the ship's common room. "Not holidays, not birthdays, nothing." "We do not celebrate the day someone is born," I told her honestly. "It means nothing on its own. We celebrate accomplishments, titles earned, duties fulfilled. The day you are simply born is an accident, nothing more." She frowned at that, clearly unsatisfied with my answer, but she did not argue. She simply nodded slowly, filed the thought away somewhere behind her eyes, and returned to her meal as if the conversation had ended. It had not ended, not for her. 3 days later, tension returned to the ship in a different form. A patrol vessel from one of the arguing governments intercepted our path, demanding they hand me over for questioning about the destruction of my homeworld's fleet. Marcus refused calmly over the comm, buying time while Sarah quietly rerouted our course through a narrow debris field that most ships avoided out of caution. I sat frozen in the corner of the control room, watching the scanners, watching the patrol vessel's lights grow smaller as we slipped between broken chunks of an old collapsed station, pieces of metal drifting like slow, silent stones around us. My heart pounded the entire time, certain that any moment a piece of debris would tear through our hull, or the patrol ship would catch up and take me anyway. "Just breathe," Teo whispered beside me, gripping the edge of his seat just as tightly as I gripped mine. "Dad does this all the time. He is really good at it." I did not fully believe him, not until the debris field opened up ahead of us into clear space, and the patrol vessel's signal faded entirely from our scanners. Only then did my hands stop shaking. That night, exhausted from fear that had nowhere left to go, I sat alone on the observation deck, watching unfamiliar stars drift past the window, when Amara found me there. She did not say anything at first. She simply sat down beside me, cross-legged on the floor, and placed something small and wrapped between us. "What is this?" I asked. "Open it," she said. Inside was a simple round pastry, plain and unassuming, with a single thin candle pressed into its center. "We did not know your actual birth date," she admitted, "so we picked today, the day we pulled you out of that shuttle. Figured that counts as a good enough day to start counting from." I stared at the candle, confused by the gesture entirely. "I do not understand the purpose of this. You are supposed to make a wish," she said, as if this were obvious. "Then blow out the candle." "A wish for what?" "Whatever you want most," she said simply. "Doesn't have to make sense to anyone else." I sat there a long moment, turning the strange little object over in my mind, searching for some proper procedure, some correct dynastic response for a moment like this, and finding none. There was no court tradition for this, no title to earn, no duty to fulfill. Just a small flame, flickering quietly, waiting for me to decide what to do with it. I closed my eyes. I did not wish for my throne to return, or my mother's fleet restored, or my father's voice to come back through some silent channel. Those things were gone, and no candle in the universe could undo that. Instead, I wished for something smaller, something I barely had words for even in my own mind. I wished for more nights like this one, more strange little pastries, more impossible questions from a 13-year-old girl who refused to accept that a life could exist without any celebration in it at all. I opened my eyes and blew out the candle in one breath. Amara grinned, satisfied, as if she had solved something important. "Happy birthday, Vasara." I did not know how to respond properly, so I simply said the only true thing I could think of. "Thank you for finding me." "That is what people do," she said, shrugging like it was the simplest fact in the world. "When someone is drifting out there alone, you go get them. Then you make sure they know they matter, once they are safe." I have had many more of these strange, unscheduled celebrations since that night, each one falling on a different day, because the family aboard that ship never bothered to agree on a fixed date, and eventually stopped trying altogether. Some years the candle appears in early morning, some years it appears late at night, after a long, tense day of dodging patrol ships or repairing damaged engines. It never comes on the same day twice. I am told this is unusual. I am told most people keep the same date each year, tied to their actual birth. I have never corrected the family about this. I have never asked them to fix it into something more proper or more predictable. Because I have come to understand something no royal tutor ever taught me, something no dynasty back home ever had a word for. A birthday is not really about a date at all. It is a decision, made again and again, that a particular life is worth remembering, worth protecting, worth pulling out of the dark when everything else has been lost. They made that decision about me on a battered trading ship, in the middle of a debris field, while patrol vessels searched for someone to blame for a war none of us had chosen. They have kept making that same decision again and again ever since. And for the first time since I lost everything I once had, I no longer feel like an accident drifting through empty space. I feel like someone worth finding,